we've got a lot of fights to talk about in an hour, less than. Okay, the final UFC pay-per-view of the year, the final UFC card, in fact, is behind us, UFC 296, in the books, and there is tons to talk about because I thought that this card was fantastic. Even though the last few fights went to decisions, there was so much to talk about in those and a ton of great finishes and stuff throughout the card. We'll just start right at the bottom because this is the first UFC card I've watched from top to bottom in a long time. And it was really worth it because the Fight Pass prelims were really, really good. Literally before we just started recording, me and Jake were talking about how good Shamil Gaziev looked in the first fight of the night, which, yeah, didn't see coming a heavyweight opener. I'd be like, okay, we're kicking this off good.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of thinking, okay, a bit of a slow start here, but it's all right. The card will get better. Gaziev looked fantastic. I think he's only about 30 years old, which in heavyweight terms means he's about 25. You know, he's got plenty of time, and he looks fantastic. Very solid prospect, taking out a guy in Martin Buday, who was ranked when this fight was announced, who was on, I think it was 4 wins in a row, something like that. So yeah, very excited to see what Gaziev does next. I hope they give him someone ranked if that can be organized, because that was a stellar performance.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, as somebody who only just watched the Andre Fili knockout, Andre Fili is so much fun to watch every single time, but I was surprised considering how hard he hits that he doesn't have many knockouts, especially not lately. Like, that finish is so good that you'd expect him to do it a lot more.
Yeah, he hits hard and he's always in banger fights, so it's a bit surprising. Pulling back the curtain, I didn't see the early prelims. I have COVID at the minute, so I was like, I'm gonna take every moment of sleep I can get, and like, I'm just gonna wake up at 1 o'clock for this card. But it kind of feels like I made a mistake. I haven't seen that fight you just mentioned, the heavyweight fight, so I think that's gonna be next to go back and watch. It sounds like, but on Fili, I mean, it's just good to see. He's a guy who's been around for so long. He's still not that old, and he doesn't really have a finish like that to his name, so it's cool to see him find that and, you know, see where he can go next with this.
Yeah. Closing out the Fight Pass prelims, you had Takia Ulanbekov, who got the submission win against Cody Durden. There wasn't really a whole lot to talk about, I don't think, with this fight. I kind of expected it would go that way, and it went that way.
Yeah, I think the only thing I could really touch on is that I thought there was kind of some poor reffing. Ulanbekov had his toes in the cage for a good 5 minutes of that fight, and all the referee did was warn him. He didn't take position away. He didn't do anything. So, bit odd, but yeah, Ulanbekov look solid contender as far as 125 goes. Cody Durden actually, he was on a decent enough run coming into this fight. Beat Jake Hadley, which I was very impressed by, but yeah, not really all that surprised.
Yeah. Moving on to the prelim card, which this prelim card was one of the most fun 4-fight runs I've watched in quite some time. Kicking it off with Ariane Lipski defeating Casey O'Neill, submitting her in the second round, and I was watching it going, I haven't been wrong about Lipski all this time, have I? I was like, I need to go back and watch those fights because I don't remember her being anywhere near this good. And then I saw everyone on Twitter being like, Lipski looks incredible. Like, who would have seen this coming? This kind of career, I don't know what you would say, second wind maybe that she's been on lately. And this one is kind of the crowning achievement of that run so far. She looked fantastic against Casey O'Neill.
Yeah, she's someone who had potential when she came in from KSW, but hasn't really put it together in the UFC. She's kind of been just a 500 fighter, but now, you know, three wins in a row, 2 decisions over JJ Aldrich and Melissa Gatto. Not the greatest wins, but, you know, she's on her way up, and then this is just the one that really cements it. Casey O'Neill, I think there's another question mark there. Like, she still hasn't really bounced back from that injury yet, but, you know, huge win for Ariane Lipski, and, you know, the Queen of Violence is probably going to be in a big fight coming up next year.
Yeah, most definitely. Talk about big fights coming next. Cody Garbrandt is the former no love back, because I saw a lot of people being like, "Oh, that looked like the Cody of old," and I was like, "I think we should pump the brakes on that a little bit," because remember he knocked out Rafael Sunsao, and everyone was like, "He's back, maybe," and then he wasn't back. So I was like, maybe we need to chill out a little bit. But he did look good, and the speed and everything was on point, as you would expect, I feel like, from Cody at this point. But what did you guys make of the performance and the call out? Because the call out made me go, we might have gone a little bit too far.
Yeah, if you want the Cody of old to be back, that isn't the fight to make.
No, it's not. I was impressed with Garbrandt. I thought he looked good. The one thing he's never deteriorated in is his physical attributes, aside from his chin. Like, he's always been very quick. He's always still had power in his hands. But I think technically he's getting there. Do you know what I mean? And it's weird to say for a guy who put on like a display of technical excellence against Dominic Cruz fucking 7 years ago now. But it feels like his technique is actually getting a bit better. Good knockout, brutal knockout. It looked like he broke Kelleher's jaw when he hit him, because like Kelleher went down, got back up, and just decided, nah, fuck that, I'm staying down. It's probably the right decision. But in terms of the call out, I don't know about all that. Figueiredo looked good against Rob Font. He looked good, and he is fucking hard, man. Like, if he draws Cody into a firefight, we might see the Cody of old, in the sense that, Cody's going to be unconscious.
And with all due respect to Brian Kelleher, there's a difference between looking good against Brian Kelleher and looking good against Rob Font.
Yeah, there is. Steve's got to be happy, though. Steve's got to be happy as someone who owns a Cody Garbrandt t-shirt.
I do. I might. Yeah. We've talked about doing a New Year's show, and I may wear that Cody Garbrandt t-shirt for the New Year's show. Just, I've seen this guy fight in America when I've been. I'm a big Cody Garbrandt fan from back in the day, and I was happy with this fight. But and you mentioned the Dominic Cruz fight. There was a bit of that Dominic Cruz performance in this fight. He was having fun with it, but remaining a bit more technical with it, which is what you want to see from him. It's an interesting one. Obviously, I don't think the Davison Figueiredo fight is the way to go. I think that's pretty clear. I don't think Davison should be fighting that far down either. But I mean, I think you can start looking at, the top 20 for Cody to see if he is back.
I think Yanez might be a good fight. Yanez has lost two in a row.
That is a good fight. It's
a good fight. Look, they don't let me do Matchmaker Monday for nothing, fellas, right? I'm great at this. I think it's a good fight for Yanez, in the sense that Cody has a bit of a reputation of being, going down when he gets hit by good boxers, and Yanez is a good boxer, but also Yanez has lost his last two. Garbrandt needs a way back into the top 15. I think that's a good fight to kind of throw on either, that. Is it the card in? Is it California? Is that where 298 is happening?
298 feels a bit soon.
Okay, 299.
I think you can put that on the 300 prelims, to be honest.
Yeah, I was going to say 300 initially, but I don't know. Dana is talking about, that's the first prelim of the night and all that shit. And
Bo Nickel, right?
Oh, Jesus Christ! Don't even go there, man.
You mentioned Matchmaking Monday, and I noticed something which I've never really noticed before. UFC on, I think it was the Europe social media account today.
They do Matchmaker Tuesday.
Matchmaker Tuesday. It doesn't roll off the tongue. I get why they do it. I know, like, the whole Dana White matchmaker meeting is on Tuesdays. I guess that's where it comes from. It does not roll off the tongue like Matchmaker Monday does.
No, it's not Matchmaker Monday, is it? So, no.
And the other thing I want to comment on from this fight, what is Brian Kelleher's haircut?
No,
I was going to say,
don't even go there.
Calling out someone that has the God of War stripe through his hair after beating a guy that has and this is Kelleher's description, not mine, skullet, is a wild jump. like that tells you that you need to pump the brakes. Like, that's a scary jump.
The best description I heard for the haircut, I think it might have been Pizzi on The Ringer. The old school Ronaldo haircut, like Brazilian Ronaldo, with just the front. It was the back half.
With the back.
Yeah.
Oh fuck. Yeah, no, that was
shout out to Pizzi. He's the man.
He is the man. He is the man, to be fair. You know what? Very eager to share his prawn crackers. Got jump scared by Mark Goddard at Bellator 299, but brought prawn crackers, shared them out. Petey's the fucking man. So Arnold Allen talks fight at 297. Who was doing an interview with Arnold Allen? Because I didn't know there was one happening.
I spoke to Arnie last week, I think, or the week before.
There we go. Pleasant surprise, eh?
There you go. I didn't even know that it was dropping today. Lovely stuff.
I thought he was in a meeting.
I guess. Hey, look, the main man Corley can multitask. He may not be here, but he can be in a meeting and upload an interview at the same time. This is all not going to be relevant by the time. But I guess, hey, if you want to go check out an interview with Arnold Allen, you can do that. You can do that when this podcast episode is out. It was a good time.
It's a good get. I like that. Not like, I mean, he's an Ipswich fan, so especially this weekend, I'm not going to go there. But like, yeah. It
was a fun chat. Following along from Cody Garbrandt's knockout, one of the best fights of the year. There was a few times throughout this card where I was like, oh, this is really going to affect end of the year lists for all of the big media companies, and this one definitely would have thrown a couple new names into the mix, with Irina Aldana and Cal Rosa producing what I think might be a top 3 women's fight of all time.
Easily could be. And it was a fight that admittedly I kind of went, oh Jesus, this is going to kill the buzz of the card, because like Aldana's last fight with Nunes was just a stinker. I just did not enjoy that fight at all. So I was thinking, oh, for fuck's sake. So I zoned out a little bit. I went on Twitter, or I was reading people's tweets, but I just kept flicking my eyes out because I kept hearing these fucking leg kicks getting bashed in. And I was like, geez, it's actually not a half bad fight. And I zoned back in then, and they're just knocking the shit out of each other. Like, oh, it was such a good fight, and such a good display of heart from both women as well. It's an absolutely terrific fight. How did Aldana keep walking? Her leg looked like mincemeat, but fuck it, fair play to her.
Yeah, fight. There's not much more to say to that. Obviously, it's a great fight when you get the hospital picture, and we got a great hospital picture in this one. But Aldana always has potential to have bangers, but doesn't seem to do it consistently enough, like you mentioned with the Nunes fight. Maybe that's just because she was in there with Nunes, but I mean, Aldana can have fun fights.
Yeah, I saw an incredible tweet during this fight that was Irina Aldana's game plan is, I have 2 legs, but you only have 1 brain. Which I thought was fantastic. Might be, you hear it a lot about people being like, okay, well, if you're getting torn apart by leg kicks, you need to start throwing something back. And I don't know if there's ever been a better argument for that than Irina Aldana in that fight, who just threw the kitchen sink at her every single time she threw a leg kick. It was incredible. If you had asked me to bet money, will the light heavyweight fight that follows this somewhat live up to that incredible fight, I would have said no. Absolutely not. You're not taking my money. However, Alonzo Menefield versus Dustin Jacoby was a really, really fun fight. And I didn't expect it, to be honest, but I was like, this is crazy that both these fights have been this good.
Yeah, I thought that fight would end in a knockout pretty quickly, because Jacoby hits pretty hard and so does Menefield as well. But they went down a lot. They just didn't fucking stay down. That was it. Yeah, that was a fun fight, especially by light heavyweight standards. Yeah, Menefield is on a good run. I think he's unbeaten in his last 4 or his last 5, something like that. Yeah, fantastic fighter. And you know what, Jacoby as well, like I feel like he's a little bit underrated. Like, he's lost a couple, but he always looks pretty good when he fights. So yeah, like a good light heavyweight fight, I'm always happy to see.
Yeah, there's not enough of them, but this is one you could point at and see, like, it could be a banger, and it was. Like you say, I expected the finish. I expected probably Menefield to get the finish, but I mean, both of them, they both dropped each other. They both just kept hitting each other, and it was a great fight.
Yeah, it was great stuff. the transition from that into the first fight of the main card, we couldn't be further away from talking about people getting hit and getting back up, because Josh Emmett is a scary individual, and I when they announced that Bryce Mitchell will be stepping up on short notice, I was like, oh, that's not good for Bryce Mitchell. That's not a fun matchup. However, I didn't expect to see him get absolutely flatlined in that fashion, at least that early. I thought maybe it would happen later on, but because you know that Josh Emmett's capable of it. But my God, Josh Emmett, when did we start talking about him as having one of the best knockout highlight reels of anyone in the UFC? Because he's got some all-time contenders.
100%. I think now is when we have to start having that conversation. It took him nearly killing Bryce Mitchell for people to finally give him some respect, because he was fighting for the fucking interim title earlier this year, and everyone was still like, I don't know, he's a bit weird, and he's got a couple of robberies, and is he really that good? Yeah, he's pretty good. He hits people and they just don't get back up. He's got like the knockout against Lamas, which was brutal. Yeah. Then Michael Johnson, and now fucking Bryce Mitchell as well. Like he's so scary. And as horrible as it was to see someone like shaking on the ground, it was pretty funny at the press conference when Emmett said like, I found it hard to celebrate after that. And I was like, you screamed at him and then did a backflip. Like this is like a Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson thing, where Chandler is, he just keeps doing backflip after backflip and no one knows if Tony's going to wake up. This is just...
Yeah.
Yeah. That's like...
This was one of...
This is a triple reference, right? But that's like saying that Adebayor found it difficult to celebrate against all of the teams that he ran the pitch to celebrate in front of the away fans. Like that is one of the craziest statements you can possibly make. That is wild. That's like saying Justin Gaethje where he does a backflip. I didn't want to celebrate. I felt bad.
Yeah. I like Josh Emmett. He's cool, and he only has losses to pretty good fighters. With the exception of Jeremy Stevens.
Yeah, it's like his last two fights, he kind of got smashed by Yair and Ilya, and I guess people kind of thought like, oh, he's a bit old, he's kind of done now. No, those two are just really good. Josh Emmett is still a legit fighter, and he kind of proves that here. One of many moments this weekend when I kind of thought, what the fuck are we doing here? When you've got DC yelling, he's having a seizure. And then the producers first thought, let's get the camera on there. Let's show it. Let's get the camera right on the man shaking on the floor. And I was like,
it was so bad. Like you'd hear Rogan and DC being like, oh man, he's like convulsing, he's having a seizure. This is really bad. And it cuts to like an overhead shot where you can see Emmett in the background still celebrating. Where you can see Mitchell just like down on the ground. It's so bad.
Yeah. See, and then to watch Bryce walk around the cage.
Kind of...
Yeah, Karen.
Now, in normal sports, when this happens, the camera goes like to a wide shot. Not the UFC. They focus on that shit. Put the camera right on that shit.
If they had ref cam, we would have got ref cam in that moment. But then the thing that I found. The thing that I found frustrating is, okay, you show it, but then just like go away. We don't like let us know Bryce is like up and okay and stuff. That's fine. But I don't need to watch him hobbling around speaking to people for like the next minute with Joe Rogan just shouting that he's not okay and needs to sit down. It's like, what is happening right now? What are we doing?
Well, do you want that, or do you want to go back to watching Josh Emmett do more backflips? Like. It was horrible though that they wouldn't give him a fucking stool, that they wouldn't let him sit down because he was so badly out of it.
As much as we joke about it, I was like, one of the reasons it was so frustrating to watch is I was like, the guy just got knocked out in one of the worst KOs of the year. What is he doing walking around talking to people? Like, what are you doing? He spoke to Dana and Dana didn't. I was like, sit him down.
Especially when it comes to Bryce as well. Like, Bryce is not he's not the sharpest spoon in the fork drawer, if you know what I mean. Like, he's just not. I feel like if he's really badly concussed and he's getting up and he's wobbling around, he might start a fight.
Yeah, that is crazy.
You have separate drawers for your cutlery.
Just go with the analogy, all right? Just go with it, right?
I feel like we could almost do a whole podcast on just the various shenanigans that happened during this card, but maybe we'll get to a few of them at the end, because most of them happened towards the end, I think. Anyway,
I wonder what Trump thought of that knockout.
He reckons he could do better. No one does knockouts like him. No.
I mean, I want to have the Trump conversation at some point. Like, this guy is getting the same entrance at the same point of the show. It's like a thing now.
Yeah.
End of the prelims, you get the Trump walkout. American Badass is playing.
Him and Kid Rock. It's always him and Kid Rock. him walking out with Kid Rock, I thought was hilarious. I was just like, America never fails to amaze me.
And apparently Mario Lopez playing the role of Tucker Carlson this time.
Oh, fucking, like, honestly, that time, what was it? Dana, Tucker Carlson, Donald Trump, and Kid Rock walked out. I really thought about giving up on the sport. Like, that's like the nightmare fucking blunt rotation right there. That's abysmal. To be putting on the broadcast as well. But
yeah, it's a part of the show now.
I know, it's a whole thing. Also, if we may just touch on this briefly before we get back to the fights, Sean Strickland went up one spot in the pound for pound rankings.
Yes,
today.
Yes, he did.
After his win over Dricus du Plessis in the crowd.
Yeah. He overtook Sean O'Malley, which makes me think that Sean should have got into it with Cheeto.
Yeah,
they were both there. They were both there too. They were pretty close to each other, for what I understand.
No, obviously, no, they weren't fucking beside each other though. They weren't behind and in front of one another. Because
no, they did not have a wall of Gilbert Burns' children between them.
Like, Dana sits there and he's like, "Oh, what kind of a fucking idiot was I doing that?" No, genuinely, what were you thinking? Putting those two beside each other. Sean is just a liability. He's like, except for when he's in the cage, he's one of the most violent people I think I've come across in the sport. Like, when he's in the cage, all he does is fucking, like, jab and move forward. But like, he's just a nightmare. And then Dricus as well. Like, God love him. Again, I could go back to the same analogy I used about Bryce. Like, do you know what I mean? He's just not. He's not all there, really.
Please don't.
No, I won't. But he was lacking oxygen to his brain for so long. I mean, he might be a bit deprived up there. That's all. So I don't know. Like,
I love how one of my favorite things to talk about this year was Strickland and the Philly Shell debacle with the Adesanya win, only for him to I can't watching it back, I still find it hilarious. Only for him to launch himself at Dricus du Plessis and hit him over the head like a WWE wrestler stages a fight. Like, that is, if you were trying to make it look like you hate a person, that is what you would do in a wrestling ring.
It was every WWE pull apart brawl I've ever seen.
Yeah, literally, right?
Even with the security holding them back. Oh no, one guy got free and he's gone. And he's jumping over the top.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And those two guys are fighting for the middleweight title. I love it.
Nah, but I mean, Dana says, like, what was I thinking? We know what he was thinking. They promoted it on the pay-per-view. It was the main event of the pay-per-view. Stay tuned so you can see the footage.
Do you know what? That was. Can we call that post-limbs? Like, it was a fight after the main event.
It was a Bellator post-lim.
Yeah.
Eat, sleep, Bellator post-limbs.
The initial clip I thought was absolutely hilarious of when they show Dricus and then it just slowly pans out and Sean just like appears. It was like the clip, Steve, where Undertaker appears behind AJ, but in like reverse. Where he just like Strickland just like emerged like, I am here too.
I mean,
like a genie.
They do that on every show, I feel like, but not two guys that are fighting each other next month. And I mean, just said some pretty horrible things about each other the day before.
I know. Like, the entire week was just a shitstorm between the press conference, like the seasonal press conference for next year, and then the press conference for 296, and then the fight, and then just Colby in general. Do you know what I mean? Like everywhere he goes is a shitstorm. So
this is the week that made me think, like, what am I doing covering these people?
yeah, it's just, I don't know. I was gonna post like a "don't make me tap the sign" thing after Strickland at the press conference, but I opted against it, and I just didn't tweet anything about it. I was like, I'm not doing this shit again. This was that was a fucking nightmare last time.
Yeah. To go from that absolute chaos to quite an unchaotic fight in Paddy Pimblett versus Tony Ferguson. It was like watching it was like, I guess this is just the MMA world now, where it isn't even a close fight between Paddy Pimblett and Tony Ferguson. I don't really know what else there is to say from us about Tony at this point. I feel like there has been some kind of excuse you could use in the past, even if it was just the caliber of opponents he was losing to. And I thought, to give Paddy his moment, I thought he did look improved in this fight from the last time that we saw him. But, Paddy knew himself that he was in a lose-lose. People were always going to talk about how Tony looked over how he looked. And I just thought Tony looked somehow slower than he did against Bobby Green. Like, he looked worse on the feet in this fight than he did against Bobby Green, who I would say, most people agree is a better striker than Paddy.
Yeah, it was. It was sad to watch, honestly, because Paddy gassed out really hard in the third round, and it kind of looked like this might be a chance for Tony. He might come back, he might get on the inside, might hit him with something, and he just fell apart, and he couldn't do anything off his back against Paddy. Like, this is a guy at one time it was like, oh man, Habib might get him down, but Tony's dangerous off his back, and now he can out wrestle fucking Paddy Pimblett. Paddy did look a little better, to be honest, but I think the fact that
I think it's the best Paddy has looked in the UFC. Not that that's like a particularly high bar or anything.
No, it's not. But yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah, it's probably
his striking looked a bit sharper, and we haven't really seen a whole lot of his ground game. Like, we've seen his submission game a little bit, but not a whole lot of his ground game. So he
didn't get hit as much as he had in the previous fights, albeit that's probably more on Tony than him.
Like, I'd say in terms of his overall performance, I'd say it's probably Paddy's best showing. But yeah, I'm still not on the Paddy train. Sadly, I think. Everyone in the top 15 and a lot of people outside of it would still rinse him pretty quickly. In terms of Tony, if he retires, I'll be very happy. But I'm going to throw this one out here: Tony Ferguson versus Jim Miller, UFC 300 prelims.
Don't hate it.
No, I don't hate that. Yeah, that's
loser retires. Winner also retires.
Alternatively, Clay Guida is a guy you can put Ferguson in with. This is what we're looking at now if he wants to fight.
I don't know, because I feel like there should only be one kind of a legend spot on 300, and I think it has to go to Miller.
I'm not saying 300. I mean,
okay. Yeah, no, Ferguson versus Guida is not bad. I think if they do it on 300, though, I think the only kind of...
Have they fought before? They must have fought before.
No.
I don't think so.
No. I think, that makes sense to do. I don't know. I think in terms of 300, the only kind of older fighter I want to see on it is Miller. And honestly, they could do it against anyone, but I think Ferguson would be like, it's a decent name. Even if they did fucking Miller and Paddy, for God's sake, like that'd be all right.
I'd rather see Miller fight another vet than like one of these weird Jim Miller versus a prospect fights.
Yeah, because they've done those. Yeah. They've done that for like his last 10 fights.
Yeah,
they seldom give him anyone who's like kind of in his age range or anything.
You Miller and Guido again for like a.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. It feels like if that was on any other card, right?
I mean, so matchmaker, where do you go with Paddy on this one?
Oh, I had something in mind, but I don't remember what it is. I think maybe Bobby Green, maybe. Like it's a top 15
I
guy.
mean, Bobby Green
not a great
is
top
probably going to
15
be
guy.
out a while. He's probably going to be out a while.
That's true. After the referee tried to kill him that time. Yeah, that's fair. If we never see Bobby Green fight again, you know, as long as he's healthy. Outside of that, who do you do? Like Frivola is still there, but I think Paddy only wanted the Frivola fight because Frivola was in the top 15. Dober, I think Dober might be a step too high.
Oh, it's definitely a step too high.
Yeah, but okay. I think it's a step too high to justify making that matchup. I think everyone I've named is a step too high.
What are you looking at? Are you looking at the kind of top 20? Do you think?
Yeah, something like that, because you have to at this point.
Yeah,
You have to. You can't keep. He's on like a 5-fight win streak now. You can't keep giving him lower level opponents. It actually pains me to say Tony Ferguson is a low level fighter now, but yeah, I don't know. Even like a Grant Dawson or someone who was in the top 15. He was in the top 10 recently, but still not like that much of a threat.
That's not going well for Paddy.
No, it's not. I was gonna say Graham. What's he like? 2-2 in the UFC now or something?
He's a really good fighter though.
Yeah, really. Yeah, no, you see what I'm trying to do here?
Yeah. I do like that Paddy is trying to befriend Benoit Saint Denis so he doesn't have to
fight. So he don't have to fight him. I wouldn't want to fight that fucker either. He's he's fucking dangerous, man. Sorry, Dober and Moicano are already matched up, so that takes the two of them off.
The loser of that versus Paddy.
It depends on when Paddy wants to come back. I wouldn't be surprised if they put him on 300.
He said he doesn't want to fight on 300 because I think he's planning on being back middle of the year. I would imagine.
He'll be on that Manchester card then, won't he?
But I think because of his twins being born.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think, obviously the rumors are the Manchester in the summer. I think that makes a lot of sense, obviously.
Yeah. Also, just saying, before Dana said that, I texted that into the chat.
You did.
I said Manchester, so fucking Hunchback of Notre Dame. No, what's the predictions? Person who gets predictions right. Nostradamus. There we go.
It's quite the jump.
I was like, I had the right syllables. Yeah, I had a few of the right sounds in mind. But yeah,
it was close, I guess, in some ways. Yeah. I'll tell you what wasn't close. Shavkat Rakhmonov beating Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. And for a while, I really convinced myself that it was going to be a really close fight because I just thought Shavkat ain't that guy. He ain't going to be that Chimaev shoot a double from the off kind of guy. And then, as we know now, he had a bit of an injury going into this fight and so didn't want to strike and played into his grappling. And obviously it was the smart thing to do because that was what everyone knew would happen. But, at the same time, first guy to submit Wonderboy, which is pretty incredible considering, he's been dominated by grapplers in the past and they've never been able to get him out of there. And he got it done in the second round after a very strange first round that I was like, is this going to be the whole fight? I really hope not. But like I said, got the submission, got the statement win. I don't know if it's enough to leapfrog Bilal, to be honest.
No.
It shouldn't be.
I think if he beat him in a striking contest, the UFC might go, he might be the guy.
I just think that was kind of a tepid kind of performance that was a bit odd. I still don't think it was that bad. I didn't think, while I was watching, I was like, oh, this is a bit. I don't know. I was kind of thinking, I expected this to be a little more high paced, but that was a bit that. Yeah. Also, people saying Shavkat is boring now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
18 wins, 18 finishes, but he has one kind of a shit round, and all of a sudden he's boring. Like Bilal Muhammad exists.
He wasn't even that bad around.
If you want to shit on a welterweight title contender for being boring, we have Bilal, right? And I like Bilal. Okay,
Colby.
Colby is he's not a title contender anymore though.
Nah, I know.
He's not a contender. Straight out. Can he just retire? We've no need for him anymore.
I mean, if if Shavkat's not getting the title fight next, that's the fight. And I'm like,
Shavkat and Colby. I think Shavkat deserves someone better. If Usman comes back down to 170, I think you do Usman versus Shavkat.
you can Usman, Chimaev, and Shavkat back to back.
Yeah. Look, to be fair,
you could have Kamaru Usman on a 4-fight losing streak to Leon Edwards, Chimaev, and Shavkat. How that's as
bad.
brutal as it gets.
Yeah. I saw someone saying the other day that Usman he's the best fighter in the UFC that's on a 3-fight losing streak.
Probably.
He is, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. That's someone I can't think of that's obvious, but yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's what I go. I don't think you give Shavkat a title shot over Bilal. If Bilal is out or he's he's not able for whatever, I guess you can do Shavkat. But yeah, look, I know. Look, for a lot of people, it's just going to be a case of, oh fuck it, just give Bilal a title shot and then be done with it. I might be one of those people where it's just a case of like, can we just we'll give him the title shot and then win or loss, it's over. There's no more begging for a title shot.
It's
corny.
It's cringy.
It is. I'm not. See, I actually like Bilal.
Yeah, this video. I like Bilal.
Yeah, like Bilal's all right. I don't hate him. It's just I don't particularly enjoy watching a lot of his fights. Some of his social media antics are just. It's the social equivalent of like you're just biting a lemon. Do you know what I mean? It's just you just don't enjoy it. It's kind of.
I mean, his new thing is like the movie clips with like his face and Leon's face on. He posted a Terminator clip at which point someone in the comments reminded him that Terminator died at the end of that movie.
That's incredible.
That was Kyle's alt. We all know how much he hates Bilal.
I think that Bilal has done more than enough to earn the title shot when you look at the people he has beat. So I think he has to be next. I think Shavkat probably needs to fight again because there's an argument for if Gilbert beats Jack Della Maddalena that he could be next over Shavkat, I think maybe, because when you look at the people that Gilbert's fought as of late. So I think Shavkat probably need to fight again. Who knows when Leon, you're probably looking at Leon versus Bilal in the summer. So I think Shavkat will probably fight again before the title shot comes his way. Otherwise, he's going to be waiting a long time. And we saw in the main event what waiting a long time can do to you. So which is fine by me because I thought that this performance was like pretty good by Shavkat, but like you said, Jake, it was very much like it happened, and then I was like, okay, on to the next one. I'll see what's next for Shavkat.
Shavkat always looks really good, but there's always there's a moment. Like the first round here wasn't great. In the Jeff Neal fight, he got caught. There's always there's always something that can put a bit of doubt in you, I think.
Yeah, he has some flaws, admittedly, and that's what makes him exciting. It's what makes him a prospect. You think, like obviously he could fucking run through people, but also there's a chance he might get caught. And I think in terms of him getting a title shot, it's not a case of like, oh, I don't know if Shavkat is up to the challenge. Like he obviously is. He's really fucking good. It's just a case of earning it. Because are we really giving him a title shot over wins over Jeff Neal and Wonderboy? You know what I mean? Like when you look at it that way, like as good as the finishes were and as impressive as he is as a fighter, I think he needs one more. Even if it's not against someone highly ranked, I think just another one, and then that's kind of his case.
I also think there's another man who is more likely to get a title shot off of a win over Jeff Neal coming up in the next few months.
Machado Gary. Poor guy, honestly. He's had it tough recently. Everything was coming up roses, and then it stopped coming up roses, and look, does he have pneumonia? Probably. Does he definitely have pneumonia? I don't know. Maybe it was all a bit much. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him. Let's just hope he beats Jeff Neal.
I mean, if he beats Jeff Neal impressively, you could see him jumping Bilal, couldn't you?
I don't know about jumping Bilal. I think he could jump Shavkat to be the next guy after Bilal, but I don't think he could jump Bilal.
I reckon if Colby Covington beat Brian Barberina tomorrow, he could jump Bilal. And that's the truth. I think the UFC really don't like him.
Well,
Brian Barberina taking the place.
Yeah. I actually didn't mean to do that. I really like Brian Barberina, but like he's
yeah. It was a good pick to illustrate your point because it works. Co-main event.
He could go down to lightweight, beat Alex Hernandez, and then get a title shot.
No.
We can't rope him into.
Don't bring him in. All right, I've made my peace with him. He's okay.
The flyweight title fight, Alexandre Pantoja defending the flyweight title against Brandon Royval. His grappling was the story of this fight. I suppose kind of like the first fight against Royval, but not really. That was, more of an opportunistic submission, and this one it was more about his grappling control and just stopping the pace and output of Royval. I thought that even though he looked good late on, I was a little bit disappointed with Royval. I felt like he was going to put it on him a lot earlier, and when he did, he was having success. But it felt like too much of a ticking clock at that point. By the time he really started to take over, but I thought it was a very, very smart performance from Pantoja. He seems to have this incredible ability. He did it against Moreno as well. To when you're like, oh, he's done. That's when he gets the takedown. Like it's like scoring before halftime, like right at the end of the half. He's so good at that, at pulling it out of the bag when you need it the most, and just changing the tempo of the rest of the round. It's crazy.
I honestly zoned out of this fight, so I'm not gonna have to.
All right, fair enough. I was waiting for Steve to chime in. No, I enjoyed it.
Pantoja looked dominant, but I honestly,
it was a fun fight to watch, especially those last couple of rounds. But
I saw a lot of negative feedback on the fight, and again, people saying Pantoja is boring and that kind of thing. And like Pantoja said, like, I'm sorry the fight was boring. I was like, man, that was a good fight. It was a good fight, and I think Royval's stock went up because even though he didn't get the win, and he could have performed better. I think he did perform quite well. I think the exchanges in probably the last 2 rounds, the striking exchanges, he looked really good in. And I think he's proven that he's an elite contender who probably will fight for the belt again someday. I just think it was a case of better game plan from Pantoja. He was able to mix his striking and his grappling well. He's got an ungodly chin. Like, he took some massive shots from Royval, like knees and stuff that most of the flyweights go down. So, yeah, I think overall good performance from Pantoja, but also a pretty decent showing from Royval. We're going to end up getting another Brandon Moreno fucking title fight if he beats Albazi, which I'm not looking forward to, because just give it a rest, man. Honestly,
it's crazy. I saw a tweet about this the other day. I was going to ask you guys, now that he's beaten Royval and defended the title for the first time, who is the biggest threat to Pantoja right now? And I think most people would say it's Brandon Moreno, despite the fact Pantoja's beaten him 3 times in a row. Like, it's like the Holloway Volk thing all over again, where I'm like, I have no evidence to suggest why Brandon Moreno can beat him, and yet I still think he has the best chance of anyone. Like, I don't know who right now in the flyweight division can beat Pantoja. I thought that Brandon Royval had a really good shot, and he just couldn't compete with him in the grappling. Yeah. It's crazy. Like, Royval is known for being so difficult to pin down and so good at scrambling, and Pantoja was just able to keep him down so much of the fight.
Yeah, I don't even think it's a case of who can beat Pantoja. I think it's a case of who's going to fight Pantoja at this point, because there's not a whole lot of contenders sticking out at 125. You've got Muhammad Makayev, who might actually be like 35 years old. We don't know. There's Albazi, but there's not a lot of hype around him anymore after that fight with Cara France. Obviously, if he beats Moreno, he's going to.
I think that's the problem with Albazi is again the Holloway thing, where you're like, yeah, he's an exciting guy, but is he good enough to beat Brandon Moreno? I don't know.
I really don't. If Moreno wins, you can't give him another title shot. You can't.
They will. They will.
Oh, they will, but you can't. Who else is there at flyweight right now?
There's a lot of prospects. There's a lot of guys in that kind of that next level down. Obviously, you got Makayev.
But unless if
Makayev
Makayev wins, let's say Moreno beats Albazi, which means there's a good chance we get another Moreno title fight. But let's say they don't give him one. If Makayev then beats Perez, do you just throw him straight into a title shot? There's not really anyone else.
I think he'd get it. Yeah.
Perez ranked? Do we know
7 or 8, something like that.
Ooh, okay.
Makayev's 8 because I looked earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Perez isn't that much higher.
Jake, are you ready?
Yeah, he must be. He must be like 6 or 7. So I reckon that would do it. To be honest, I think he would get the shot.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of guys. I mean, I think Makayev would need a top 5 win to get a shot, but I mean, like you say,
Not a flyweight. If he's
he's probably the biggest name guy there. To be fair,
Again, the problem is though you're looking at Moreno and Pantoja have beaten so many of the guys between them, and I think that even though I could see it happening, I think Moreno probably needs 2 wins in order to get another shot. The Holloway thing, beat 2 top contenders, and then we go from there, and we'll see what happens.
I think you need to have Moreno. Kind of needs to. I mean, the problem you just said is that he's beaten too many guys, but put him in with one of these newer guys.
Yeah. Well, he's got Amir Albazi.
Makayev. Yeah.
We'll see.
It'd be a good time for Kai Kara France to be off a win, because that would be fun. But
yeah. Hopefully we get him versus Cap next year. I still really want to see that fight.
Yeah, Cap's another guy who's right on that press.
Cap as well, yeah. He's got Mateus Nicolau next. Nicolau is kind of hovering in the top 5. So I think Cap could also get a title shot.
Yeah, very true. I feel
when
about
is that fight
already being booked.
Because the winner
it's early, isn't it?
Yeah. For the first card back.
See, I mean, if Cap wins well, he could get that shot. Especially,
Maybe. If
Moreno takes some damage against Albazi, then
I feel like they rebooked.
I mean, the Cap fight's earlier as well. So.
I feel like they rebooked the Cara France fight for a main event, and then if
Albazi
wins, but if Albazi doesn't win, if Moreno beats Albazi, then Cap's probably got the best shout of anyone, I would say. I mean, Moreno realistically does, but in terms of ones that I actually want to see right now, I think that one makes the most sense. Where to begin with a man that learnt to wrestle in Birmingham, out wrestling Colby Covington. What a crazy world that we live in. Considering after everything that happened on Fight Week, where people were talking about, is Leon rattled? Has Colby got to him? And then to watch him go out there and be so calm and confident that he's like, I'm gonna wrestle you for the last round just to see what happens, and just to prove a point to everybody that I can grapple, and also just to tick that off my ego that I've out grappled you and Kamaru Usman in the same year. Liam Rocky Edwards, absolutely phenomenal. I know that Colby fought a weird fight, definitely, but I think that was. I've never seen Colby freeze up before, so as I know that he's had time off, but given the way he was on Fight Week, it seemed like the usual Colby. I definitely feel like we had this debate with Strickland and Izzy, like how much is it one way or the other? I definitely feel like it's way more towards Leon being exceptional and way levels and levels above Colby than necessarily Colby being bad. But I do think Colby looked slow. But again, he's never fought someone nearly as fast or as good at striking as Leon Edwards. So
now Colby's always been slow, but like that just came out even more, especially on the feet. I mean, Colby is not a good striker. He doesn't have power. He's not quick. So Leon,
he's got really ugly technique. Like I said earlier this year that it would be one of the biggest surprises of the year, probably the biggest surprise of the year, if Colby beat Leon. And you lot told me, I don't know, Colby's got a chance. Colby has no chance. He never had a chance. Right? I would die by that. But he still managed to look even more shit than I thought he would. Like he was just
because he didn't do anything.
He looked really old.
His biggest skill is his pressure, right? I think
he didn't go forward for 2 rounds.
Exactly.
I was surprised in the fight week, Leon and Leon's team specifically spoke about how this would be a different Leon Edwards. He was going to push the pace. He was going to be aggressive. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's, that makes a lot of sense. You don't want to get backed up by Colby because he will just throw sloppy combinations if it means closing the distance. He doesn't really care if he hits you with it or not. Like, that makes sense. But I was surprised that considering how open Leon's team were about that they were going to push him against the cage. There didn't seem to be any plan B. Maybe there was a plan B that went out the window as soon as he saw how fast Leon was compared to him. But I on one hand, I don't agree with the whole, why didn't Colby just roll the dice? Because he couldn't even hit him. He couldn't lay a glove on him. Yeah. So what is he going to do? Just charge at him. But at the same time, it really felt like there was no plan B. He never expected Leon to walk him down. And Leon said he would do it. So I was just like, that was where the confusion was for me. And I think that's why Leon was thrown off, because he was like, I told you I was going to do this, and you don't have an answer.
Colby wasn't paying attention. That's why he was too busy thanking the troops and thanking the first responders for all that they do. Like, oh my God, he's just. I don't think it was a ring rust thing either. I don't think it was a ring rust thing. I think it was just Leon was really good and Colby was really not good on the night. He looked in awe of Leon's power, or of not Leon's power, Leon's speed rather. Yeah. I feel like Leon was dinging him with shots and with leg kicks, and then every time Colby went to, go to respond, Leon was already fucking gone. Do you know what I mean? And he was cutting the cage really well. His wrestling, like Leon Magomedwards, he looked fantastic. I think there was honestly an argument for a 50-45. I think the reverse triangle that he got in the fifth probably outweighed all the fucking hip strikes that Colby threw. So, yeah, I was impressed. And again, I didn't think it was that bad of a fight. I was pretty entertained all the way through because Leon was dinging him.
It was a tense fight because I was looking at it going, surely Colby has something else that he's going to defer to in the later rounds, and then he didn't. But I was still tense because I was like, you never know, right? And Leon was so calm and confident that you just worry that maybe he'll switch off too much, right? We've seen it happen before.
I said something like that in the group chat. Like, Leon, he just needs to keep it simple. Like, he was doing too much on the ground and putting himself in dangerous positions.
I kind of loved it though. It was an ego thing to be that calm and to be like, I'm just going to start trying things. Like, that's crazy. I
feel like Colby realized pretty quickly that he couldn't do a whole lot in this fight.
No. Yeah, he shot one sloppy takedown at the start of the third, and it did fuck all. And I think at that point he was like, okay, I'm going to shoot for one takedown per round now. And if I get it, great. If I don't, well, shit.
Then Leon took him down.
That takedown where he got him down and Leon got straight back up and then shot a takedown on him. I cheered
best
like it was a Royal Rumble return.
Best moment of the fight.
Absolutely.
And almost
incredible.
I tweeted this, but there was almost a bit of John Jones in that confidence that Leon showed.
Yeah.
In that, you're a wrestler, I'm going to take you down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm glad to see, and I'm glad to see that Leon is doing that, because I think there was kind of a stigma around Leon for a while that he was, a little too reserved at times, and maybe he kept it a little too simple, and it was just kind of, knocking the shit out of the people with 1-2s and jabs, and
he's just going through the motions and getting the job done because he's really good.
Yeah.
He did that. He did that again, though, right? Like, I don't think he ever really got out of second gear, but I think it was because he didn't know what Colby was doing. And also, I think the thing that tips it from people feeling like he's not doing enough to people feeling like, oh, he's just that good that he doesn't need to, is, like Steve said, that John Jones thing, where I feel like this fight brought the ego out of him a little bit, where he was like, I don't want to just kickbox you for 5 rounds. I want to prove that I'm just better in every area. And so people go, no, he's just cruising. Like, it's not that he's being super safe. He's just so confident that he doesn't need to do anything else to win this fight. Like,
to be fair though, it was Colby's easiest fight. He didn't have a scratch on him. Thanks to Donald Trump, thanks to all the first responders and all the troops for giving America their freedom.
You got booed. Do you know how bad the performance you have to be booed while saying that in like a total Trump crowd?
I know. Oh, he stinks so
This
bad.
crowd might as
stinks.
well have been like a Trump rally. Half of these people were there on January 6th, and he got booed.
And then when he's like mid-speech
Trump was
and it
leaving.
shows Trump
Trump was
leaving,
leaving.
incredible. Inject it into my veins.
Like, they cut to him once and he was kind of like, oh, okay. And then for the rest of his speech, you can just get the video from the crowd of him just leaving.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Amazing.
Colby, please retire. I don't want to watch you fight anymore.
Maybe I'm an idiot for thinking this, but I really thought Colby's probably going to leave without saying anything, and we won't hear from him for a while and stuff like that. No, straight on it, calling the crowd bums, saying he wants to fight Wonder Boy. I just can't.
Oh yeah, Wonder Boy was talking shit, bro. See that? Wonder Boy was talking shit. Colby called him a pedo at the press conference, and now he decided he has beef. Yeah, can we just do without him?
To steal a wrestler phrase, he killed the town. Like, he just needs to go. Like, the people don't want to see him anymore.
Yeah.
Which worries me because, you know, the UFC and the WWE are linked now, and I don't want him on WWE either.
He might go to WWE, to be fair. Now that you said it. Yeah. Oh, wow.
I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, he's done stuff with AEW before, hasn't he?
Nah, Impact.
No, he was one of
it was Impact. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I actually saw him at an Impact show. I was in Florida. I went to an Impact show just because, like, I was in Universal Studios. And it was around the time that Bobby Lashley was doing the whole American Top Team thing. Dan Lambert was there. Colby Covington was there. Gleison Tebow was there.
Wow.
And, like, this was pre-gimmick Colby. And, like, but he was enjoying being a heel. You could see.
That's where he got the gimmick. That's where his gimmick started. He reckoned he was like a half good heel in pro wrestling, and then he tried to bring it to MMA, but he forgot that to be a heel, you have to make people root for, you know, the face. But no one does that with Colby. Like, most of the people Colby fight, everyone dislikes anyway. They just think Colby's a wanker. Like, that's not being a good heel.
And then it got to the point when, you know, he worked himself into a shoot, to borrow a phrase from the Hulkster.
No, like with,
and it was like he took it too far that it became him.
He's just Can we?
Like,
We'll do away
at the start I can buy it was a gimmick, but not now.
No, he's just a dick. He's just but man, he didn't like talk to that kid that one time and told him to, you know, keep training and be a good. And he's still a dick. Like, are we doing this with Connor now as well? It's like, oh, Connor gives money to charity. Yeah, that's great for him, but he's also a dick.
Dicks aren't dicks to everyone they meet.
Exactly. Just in the case of Colby and Connor, it's a hell of a lot of people that they meet. But
that's true. I think that'll do it for the card. The only other thing I wanted to speak to you guys about, what happened then? I think my Wi-Fi just went weird. Don't worry, we're all good. The only other thing that I wanted to mention before we get out of here was the announcement on the press conference afterwards. Michael Venom Page being signed to the UFC to fight Kevin Holland at UFC 299. I feel like we've already kind of, you know, in the group chat spoken about that matchup because there was the rumors of it being in January. Crazy for Dana to just be like, oh, I've got some fights to announce. You got this and that. You got this and that. You got Michael Venom Page fighting Kevin Holland. Just to drop that in there. And then the media were like, you say Michael Venom Page? And he was like, yeah, what about it? Like, okay, cool. I thought we were going to get... I had a feeling they were going to announce it on that night, right? MVP was kind of teasing it. I thought we might get a promo video or we might get a graphic or something like that. Nah, just... He's part of this card, by the way.
Yeah. I think all the fights he announced were really big fights as well. And he just rattled them off one after the other. He was like, oh, we've got Holland versus MVP. We've got Song Yudong versus Piotr Yan. Ian Gary is going to fight Jeff Neal now.
I wonder if they probably wanted to announce it at the seasonal press conference, but MVP said the deal wasn't done until not long before Dana said it. So I imagine
you just see him at the next pay-per-view going, Oh, UFC 300. We've got Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler. We've got Dustin. Poirier.
Nate Diaz is back. He's going to be fighting Paddy Pimblett for the BMF belt.
You've got
And,
George St. Pierre versus Nick Diaz.
Royce Gracie is back.
And it's a tournament. Did I mention that?
It's going to be for the 165-pound title. And, also, Cron Gracie is on this card, and Parker Porter will be the co-main event.
Amazing.
And we bought Pierre Falator.
All announcements coming soon. But yeah, I don't know if we haven't really spoken about MVP going to the UFC on a podcast yet, so I thought we should briefly mention it. Obviously, we'll talk about it way more when the card comes around, but excited, and I think that this is obviously it's a tough fight. Kevin Holland's a very good fighter, but I think that this is a perfect way to introduce him to the UFC.
Incredible matchup. Yeah, I mean, Holland.
We should dive into this at a later stage. I feel like maybe, because there's going to be loads to talk about, and more from MVP coming soon. In terms of, I know he's done one interview to talk about it, but I'm really interested to hear him talk more about it, because everything he said so far has sounded fantastic. So, exciting stuff. Final card of the year. We will be back very soon to do awards and some other fun stuff, hopefully before the end of the year, and some cool stuff coming up in the new year as well.
Hoping to do a New Year show. That's the plan.
Yeah, that'd be good fun. All right, that'll end the episode. We'll catch you guys later for fun stuff throughout the rest of the year into the new year.
Drunken trivia. Let's go.